Norse gods and goddesses. From the most ancient civilizations on the planet to modern society, people have believed in otherworldly beings that sometimes protect us, sometimes threaten us, and in some cases, want nothing to do with us. For many ancient people, these mystical beings were gods. There were the creators and enders of worlds. One ancient group of people who had an entire pantheon of gods were the Norse. Originating from the places that would today be Norway, Sweden, Denmark and, of course, Iceland, the Norse had an almost endless list of gods and goddesses who controlled, watched over and guided the events happening on this little blue planet. The Norse were an ancient people that inhabited much of what we now call modern-day Scandinavia. Their name comes from the language they spoke, which is now called Old Norse. The basic Norse story of creation begins with two worlds that sat on either side of a bottomless abyss called Ginnungagap, which was kind of like the universe before the Big Bang. These two worlds were a land of ice called Niflheim and a land of fire called Muspelheim. The Norse were polytheistic, which means that they worshipped more than one god. One thing that sets the Norse gods apart from other gods in history is that they were never really perceived as perfect beings. They were powerful but ultimately very human and flawed. They represented the best and worst attributes of humanity. From the time the first tribes formed to become the Norse till the introduction of Christianity, it's believed they may have worshipped up to 66 different gods. Of the myriad of gods they worshipped, there are at least 13 that are widely considered to be important to understand their role in Norse culture. Here is a list of some gods in Norse mythology. Alva. Alva belongs to a species of creatures that later became elves. They were human-like but possessed magical powers. In Norse mythology, they were typically broken into two houses, light elves and dark elves. They weren't really perceived as complete gods, more like supernatural beings who could help or screw with people depending on how they felt that day. Balder. In Norse mythology, Baldr, or Balder, is the beloved god of light, beauty, and joy, known for his radiant appearance and kind nature. Balder was the son of Odin and Frigg. As far as the children of the gods went, he was basically the Superman of the time. Balder was described as a being who lived in the heavens but also occasionally dwelled in the human realm of Njord. Like Superman, he was immune to everything except one thing. This one thing was his absolute kryptonite. Balder's kryptonite was mistletoe. This god was killed by a tree many people now associate with kissing at Christmas time. Bragi. The god of skalds, bards, poetry, and wisdom. He is Odin's skald and sings of the triumphs and adventures of the warriors in Valhalla. Dagr. The son of Not and the personification of day. He brings forth the light on the back of the horse Skinfaxi. Eir. A goddess of healing and mercy. She serves as one of Frigga's handmaidens. She is one of a group of protective spirits who heal the sick and injured and is associated with physicians. Her name means mercy. Forseti. An obscure god of law, justice, and reconciliation. His courthouse is a magnificent hall of gold and silver, called Glitnir. According to Snorri, he is the son of Baldur and Nanna. Freya. The goddess Freya was one of the most sensual. She was associated with love, beauty, fertility, and gold. She would travel in a carriage pulled by two cats and had a pet boar. Frigg. She was the queen of Asgard. Frigg was the only goddess who was ever allowed to sit next to Odin, and she was associated with beauty, love and fertility. Where she differs from Freya is that Frigg was also associated with fate and had the power to see the future. Freyr. Freyr was the twin brother of Freya and the son of Njord. He was associated with peace, prosperity, fertility, sunshine, good weather and plentiful harvests. He was a popular god, and in the old days, he was believed to be the ancient ancestor of the Swedish royal family. Gefjun. A goddess of abundance, fertility, fecundity, and prosperity. She asked a king for as much land as 4 oxen could plow in one day, and turned her sons into oxen to plow the land. They dragged the land into the water, where it became the island of Zealand, where Copenhagen is today. Gullveig. A Vanir goddess, the goddess of witchcraft, known for her enchantments and divinations. Witchcraft was touchy in ancient Norse society, being both useful and untrustworthy. She may also be a goddess of wealth, specifically the potentially corruptive power of wealth. Heimdall. Heimdall was known as the shiniest god. You might think that this has something to do with light or sunshine, but instead, it was because he had the whitest skin and teeth made of gold. Hel. Hel was the goddess of the underworld, which was called Helheim. The word Hel in English is closely linked to this goddess because her name later became the word Hel in Old English, which meant to cover or hide. Hel was said to have skin that was so pale that she looked dead. Her job was to take care of the souls who had somehow ended up in the underworld. Hermodr. A god who traveled to the underworld to beg Hel to let Baldur go. His name suggests that he is a war god associated with the same battle passion as Odin, and he likely is also connected with shamanism. Hodr. The blind god of winter, who slew Baldur. Baldur is avenged by Vale and Hodr joins Baldur in Hel. They both return after Ragnarok, a Norse mythological event that involves the destruction of the world and the rebirth of a new world. Idunn. Bragi's wife and the goddess of youth, the guardian of the golden apples of immortality. She is associated with health, rejuvenation, and fertility. Jord. The mother of Thor, a giantess and the personification of earth or the physical terrain. She also may be identical to the goddess Nerthus. Her name simply means earth. Loki. To the Norse, Loki was the god of mischief, trickery, and deception. His parents were a giant called Farbodi and a goddess called Laufey. Mani. The brother of Sol and personification of the moon. He also rides across the sky in a horse-drawn chariot and is pursued by the wolf Hati. If Hati gets too close to him, it causes a lunar eclipse, and lunar phases are a result of his attempts to evade Hati. Being the moon, Mani is a god of timekeeping, and Monday is named after him. Mimir. A wise Aesir god, Mimir was sent to the Vanir to secure a truce between the two groups, yet was killed by the gods he sought to forge peace with. After his demise, his head was kept by Odin, who continued to receive secret knowledge and wise counsel from it. Nanna. A goddess of joy and peace, and romantic love. She is the wife of Baldur. Her father's name is Nepr, but nothing else is known about him. Nanna and Baldur had an ideal, loving relationship, and she is so grief-stricken upon his death that she throws herself on his funeral pyre. She and Baldur dwell together in relative peace in the underworld. Nerthus. An early Germanic earth goddess, mentioned by Tacitus in Germania. Her name is etymologically related to that of Njord. She is most likely a goddess of nature and fertility. Njord. Njord was the Norse god of the wind and sea. Of the two factions of gods that created the universe, he was the leader of the Vanir, Odin was the leader of the other group, Aesir. He was believed to be the god responsible for protecting fishermen and those who traveled across the seas. Because of the nature of the Norse as seafaring, Njord was a very popular god. Odin. Odin was known as the All-Father. He was basically the first being to decide to kill Ymir and create the universe, and as a result, he crowned himself as the leader of the gods. He was the king of Asgard and probably the most respected and feared of all the gods. Odin was constantly hungry for knowledge and power and was loyally followed by his 2 ravens, 2 wolves, and an army of superhuman women called Valkyries. Odin is the god of war but has a sensitive side because he's also the god of poetry and magic. Sif. Sif is Thor's wife and the goddess of the harvest, with hair like golden wheat. When Loki stole her hair just for kicks, Thor threatened to kill him, and Loki had Sif's hair replaced with strands of real gold. Skadi. The goddess of snow and hunting. She is the patron goddess of winter, and her attributes are skis, snowshoes, and a hunter's bow. Her name means either harm or shadowy, and is etymologically related to Scandinavia. Soul, also Sunna, the personification of the sun. She rides across the sky in a chariot drawn by 2 horses, and she is pursued by the wolf Skoll, who will swallow her at Ragnarok. A Norse mythological event that involves the destruction of the world and the rebirth of a new world. Wolf Skoll sometimes is temporarily able to swallow her, causing a solar eclipse. She was born from Muspelheim, the realm of fire. Sunday is named after her. The Norns, the goddesses of fate, who live by a well at the base of Yggdrasil. There are more than 3 Norns. Norn is just a word for supernatural women. It's a little like saying nymph or fairy, but there are 3 named ones that are responsible for people's fates: Jord, Verandi, and Skuld, who represent the past, present, and future respectively. The Valkyries, choosers of the slain, a race of female spirits that decide who is going to die in battle to join Odin in Valhalla, to await the final battle of Ragnarok, a Norse mythological event that involves the destruction of the world and the rebirth of a new world. They weave the fates of the warriors using human entrails. They act as spirit lovers to the warriors in Valhalla and can appear as beautiful swan maidens. Freya herself is the queen of the Valkyries. Thor. Thor is probably one of the most well-known Norse gods. Even back in the ancient Norse times, he was the most famous son of Odin and was seen as the protector of humanity as well as the god of thunder. He was able to create thunder with a special hammer that was a gift from his father. The hammer's name was Mjolnir and could only be held by someone worthy of its power. Tyr, the god of war, law, and justice and a protector of the legal system. Tuesday, Tiw's Day, is named after him. Ullr, the son of Sif and Thor's stepson, the god of hunting and skiing. He is associated especially with bows and with the yew trees used to make them, and also with shields. It's likely he was associated with weaponry and oaths. Vidar. Vidar was the son of Odin and half-brother of Thor. Odin had a lot of children with a lot of different women. It was believed that Vidar was the second strongest of Odin's children after Thor, and he was one of the few gods that actually survived Ragnarok, destruction of the world. Vale. Vale, or Vale, was another one of Odin's children and also a half-brother to Thor. Vale is interesting because his whole point for existing was to fulfill prophecies. He was born to avenge the death of Baldur by killing the poor blind god Hr who accidentally threw mistletoe at him after being tricked by Loki. Vale was a fast grower too. The Norse believed that he grew into a full adult within a day of his birth. Vili and Ve, Odin's brothers, who helped him create the world out of the body of the giant Ymir, the first being. Their names mean will and temple. Together, Odin and his brothers represent inspiration, intention, and consecration, the 3 forces that create the world. Vili and Ve also help take over from Odin when he's in exile. Thank you for watching.